All units to Sector 47. It's a trap. It's a trap. Clearly, it's a trap. Trap. Yeah, that's what you came here for. Trap. Trap. I've got frigate fever. I took a look at that CR-30. I thought it was awesome, and then I realized, you know what? No, it'd make this thing even more awesome? Admiral Ackbar. So I went ahead and threw together a list against my buddy Cracker to see if Admiral Ackbar can make those 2 extra red dice worthwhile. Meanwhile, my buddy has brought on a list from the Empire that is going to be a little bit more fleshed out than the list from before. He decided to take some interceptors to just kind of slow down the swarm of fighters that he thought I was going to bring. But I didn't. Much like him, I learned my lesson. I'm going to take less fighters, and I'm going to take more proton torpedoes, because those frigates, the proton torpedo frigates, they're pretty sweet. I thought they were really cool. Lot of side damage. You have to get close. Those little black dice are not very forgiving in that regard, but I hope to do a lot of damage in this round. We are playing opening salvo, and I decide to go ahead and go first this time. I try to do a little bit of math in my head, see what the range is going to be like when I get there, and try to angle my frigates in such a way that I'm going to start leading them to my right, which would be the north end of the board, the top end of the board, and try to swing around them, try to get a nice broadside on all those torpedo frigates. As an escort, I put the A-Wing fighters to protect the torpedo frigates, and I put the gaggle of X-Wings near Admiral Ackbar here in this assault frigate, just so that they can kind of tangle with the TIE fighters that he put on the other side. I'm a little concerned about all those Raider corvettes that he's put on that side, that might make quick work of them. But we're just going to have to play that by ear and make sure that the high squadron value of the assault frigate is going to keep them safe. Sort of. I mean, you just got to keep them away. Cracker sees my investment on that assault frigate and immediately sends the Victory 2 after him. And I respond in kind. I'm going to try to engage him at least in a quick pass, but I'm not going to engage him directly. You know, we're already making an exchange where I'm veering to my starboard. He's turning to his starboard. We're going to end up making a pass against each other. And moving way, way, way late in the initiative track, I begin moving the torpedo frigates forward, leaving the one on the outer side with his engine techs to make up a little bit of extra speed, because he's effectively speed 4, and it looks like that engine techs are going to just do wonders for me here. At this point, I would have loved to have the torpedo frigates be up and close for a potential parting shot against the Victory 2, but it's just not going to happen. I'm just going to have to live with engaging that other Star Destroyer in the back, the little baby Star Destroyer. Which turns out is the Victory 2. I'll just hand in my Star Wars nerd card right now, because I thought that I confused the Imperial 2 with the Victory 2. Go figure. The big Death Wedge is engaging Admiral Ackbar, and the smaller Death Wedge is going to be taken on by the torpedo frigates. Early shots are pretty much useless at this range. We don't really have a whole lot of exchanges going on. Star Destroyer does manage to tag a little bit of damage on the assault frigate, but it's nothing worth really mentioning. Worth noting, right out of camera shot, right here, marked right there, this little dot is the Slave 1 with Boba Fett in it himself, and he's going to try to engage those A-Wings. I don't know if this is a great trade. I thought I sent the A-Wings off after him just to kind of tie him up, but Boba Fett's pretty awesome, and given the weakness of the A-Wing, it's really not going to be a great trade. My buddy moves first, moving his Corvette marked here forward, takes a couple shots at the Corvette in front of him. The Corellian Corvette cares not for this, realizing that there's another initiative chick that's probably going to waste him away, having lost both of his front shields and his side shields. He decides to move forward and go ahead and plaster the Corvette that offended him in the turn before. We're just going to try to make him live a little bit longer. Of course, this does not offend my buddy at all as the Empire moves forward with its Imperial 2. The Death Wedge activates, uses a Squadron activation, moves all the TIE fighters forward and starts ripping up my X-Wings. And in a hail of fire, decides to go ahead and move forward, dealing a little bit more damage to the assault frigate. But still, you know, the assault frigate's okay. We don't have a problem yet. And as the Death Wedge moves forward, he splits aside that furball that was forming between Howl Runner, all her mates, and the X-Wings that I'm thus far kind of ignoring. Admiral Ackbar admits, trap. So he immediately shoots the Corvette that decided to blow up the Corellian Corvette because we gotta give some sort of just revenge for that. We can't let it go unanswered. We put a few shots into the Star Destroyer and put some shots into the Corvette, dusting him off completely for the offense, and we just move on. Now we're going to be in a broadside exchange against a Star Destroyer. I really love the size discrepancy here. I mean, you gotta admit the brass tacks and just the gall of those Rebel commanders. And in an interesting move in the next tick, my buddy moves the Victory too, moving him forward in front of the torpedo corvettes. I was kind of expecting a big alpha strike on the third turn, but moving him forward this early on puts him right in the broadsides of both the torpedo frigates. I just have my choice of which one to fire, so I go ahead and open up with the one marked right here, and voila! Look at these dice! Between Ackbar, first salvo, and rapid reload, look at that! It's just glorious as we strip off the shields and... well, he has to exhaust nearly all his defense tokens. All the ones that he can, just to try to brace that. And we move the torpedo frigate forward. We're going to swing around him. And you know what? We've got a whole nother turn. He's going to activate his Corvette, move it around into the rear arc of Admiral Ackbar. He's like, no, it's a trap. Because he just does not care. He knew this was a trap. So he's going to just go ahead and grin and take it. It's kind of unfortunate that he's in the rear arc. But, yeah, come on. It's just a Corvette, right? The other torpedo frigate rams torpedo after torpedo into the flaming hulk of the Victory too, leaving it with one hull point. And a whole lot of regret for having moved earlier in the initiative track. He probably could have avoided a whole slew of torpedoes. Boba Fett does show up to the A-Wings, and in Rebels fashion, the A-Wings, having no named character in there, just start blowing up. It's kind of disappointing. I think they're down to 1 point at this point, and that's going to be it for them. The moment that Boba Fett activates again, he's just going to deliver another point to him, which is a pretty awesome ability. I was kind of underscoring it. Furball around the Star Destroyer does claim a few TIE fighters, but it's not enough to really change the game. Torpedo frigates activates on the third turn. This is going to be the big turn for the Rebels, or at least the one I was planning for. And we light up the Victory. Yay! A cheer resounds through the assault frigate, who's getting battered to hell and back by a Star Destroyer and a little baby Death Wedge that has decided to swing around onto the side arc of shields that I've been diverting to. Because who's going to be on the starboard side of the ship? Nobody's going to be on the starboard side of the ship. I got to worry about the Death Wedge on the port side of the ship. So, yeah, okay, now there's no shields on that side, and I've got a nasty little baby Star Destroyer over there. It's going to be an issue. Admiral Ozzel, as clumsy as he is stupid, decides to throw down on the brakes for the Star Destroyer and tries to jam it into a hard port turn. We gotta swing that thing around that Rebel frigate because we're just going to start running away. As you can see here, we just start moving forward because it's a trap. Moving right next to Boba Fett and his dinky little ship. We don't care about him, right? At this point, I begin reassessing the board, and I realize that most of my anti-fighter work is actually tied up with Howl Runner and her friends around that Star Destroyer, and with the A-Wings gone to that Mary Sue individual that is about to die to a throat in the desert, I don't have much to deal with them. The Corvette is dead, and all the other ships only have one die to speak of in anti-fighter batteries, so this might be fun. And here's where things get interesting. I'm not admiraling very well. You can see right here, I was scraping the acrylic base between the two ships. It was so close. And if you put the ship down, the ship was sitting on top of the shield dial. So, I mean, we called it the sportsmanship, or, you know, you could have fudged the movement widget at some point in time to make that just a little bit different. And we called it a hit. The two ships start scraping the paint off of each other in a very unfortunate act of micromanagement on the part of Admiral Ackbar, who probably should be paying more attention to the giant Death Wedge and little baby Death Wedge that's following him around. And, of course, to Mary Sue Bounty Hunter that just decided to go over to the side of the shields that lacks any. And wouldn't you know it, between his ability and his actual attack value, he does like 4 points of damage, putting the poor frigate on its knees, dealing a crit. It's just, what? Come on, that wasn't supposed to happen out of nowhere. He manages to deal quite a bit of damage to the assault frigate that up until this point had just been pretty okay with everything. His turn comes around and Giant Death Wedge decides to go ahead and throw a bunch more dice into him and manages not to do as much as he'd probably like. The Imperial Star Destroyer is just not pulling his weight. So as the Rebels, this puts me into an awkward position. The Assault Frigate has a lot of problems on its starboard side. It just got no shields, a Bounty Hunter with a Death Wish, and absolutely nowhere to go because I'm banking engineering tokens. And I'm still going way too fast. I decided to speed up just to get away from the Death Wedge the turn before, and I hit the other Torpedo Frigate because I am too dumb. I am not really thinking things through. I got target fixated and getting away from Darth Boba Fett over there. I move him forward, and wouldn't you know, it's the little baby Corvette decides to ram him. I think my buddy Cracker came to the same conclusion as I did when it happened, that, you know, it's a good trade. Deal an extra point of damage to yourself, but you only need to do 1 point of damage to take out the frigate. It's a pretty equitable trade. Even when you consider that just hitting them like that, not trying to jink behind the ship, you're probably exposing the Corvette to more fire from the torpedo frigates. Well, you're actually reducing 2 red die because you're getting rid of Admiral Ackbar. So in this extent, it's actually a way more effective use of fire. Because God knows those torpedo frigates, man, they eat something serious when it's at short range. But we managed to figure out our speeds and slow things down so we're stopped scraping each other on our turn around. I gotta plan this out just a little bit better. Hal Runner dies in the melee in the center of the board. Boba Fett shows up, and now it turns into a furball. Just a matter of attrition. We've got 3 sets of X-Wings versus 3 sets of TIE Fighters and the Slave 1. It's not a great trade. I've been ignoring the fighters, hoping that they just kind of do their thing on their own, but I really needed to have been banking more squadron tokens and making them shoot first. But this is the world I live in. And as we swing through turn 5, there's no way the torpedo frigates can chase down the Star Destroyer in time. We can just throw some ineffectual 1-dice anti-squadron battery fire into the various TIE fighters, but it's a waste of time. And as the furball in the center of the board winds down, nobody is really the wiser. As Boba Fett dies, several of the TIE fighter squadrons are reduced to near nothing, but all the X-Wings are died, and a little heart pang of guilt goes through because, come on, they relied on me. Come on. I should have let the X-Wings live. I mean, there's no reason that they should have died. In the last turn, the Star Destroyer starts zooming away. I positioned the beautiful, beautiful shot for the torpedo frigate for another turn that won't happen, and I desperately try to put some more shots out there to try to save the X-Wings, but in the end of the turn, they'll die. And as we round out the game, the torpedo frigate marked here managed to fix itself by now. Having only scratched paint, it managed to fix itself. I don't know, I guess they sent the astromech droids out there to repaint the ship while it's in flight. The other torpedo frigate, not so much, having been rammed by Admiral Ackbar and ramming another frigate in his own. He had too much damage. He still had 1 point floating around, and he needed to desperately fix that, and he just didn't have the engineering points to do it. The Star Destroyer, however, still had 1 point of damage on him, and given how opening salvo works, I bet Cracker was really, really regretting not fixing that 1 point of damage. He was spending a lot of his time repairing the shields, which is a good way to spend it, and in any normal situation probably fine, but in this scenario, that 1 point gave me half his value. And the game. It was a Rebel win, but it was a difference of like 30 points. That's hardly anything. It's a 10% difference. It's less than that. So it's pretty much a draw. He played a good game, and he really applied Boba Fett to his... Boba Fett nearly killed Admiral Ackbar, the assault frigate, and all the gear that was on that thing in one fell swoop. That's impressive. I mean, you can say what you want, but that was a pretty clutch play. Well, this has been an Ouchies Batrep. and thanks for watching.
You're moving? Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
I don't really want to be here, but the problem is,
You got a bunch of weapon sticks going Homina, 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 Homina. You can
don't
practically
have
hear it through the vacuum of space.
I don't particularly have the ability to go. Here, let me just to show you.
Oh my gosh!
Mother of pearl!
Look at all that. I gotta take a picture of this.
That's revenge for the.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's revenge for the other one.
23 reroll.
All right.